interested in the realm of comic books, movies, television, your favorite actors, pop stars, and everything that's to do with Hollywood, then this is the segment for you. Do not fast forward, do not rewind. This is your Hollywood news update. Here we go. There have been a lot of rumors surrounding the filming of the new Deadpool movie, Deadpool 3, starring Ryan Reynolds. What on earth was that? It's like, one such rumor is a hint at what Wolverine will actually look like in the new Deadpool movie. And I have to say, I'm so excited. It only took 17 years, like 9 films, and up to 3 Deadpool movies. But we are finally, potentially, fingers crossed, going to see Wolverine in his original, traditional X-Men outfit, with the blue and yellow with the long sleeves. If this is true, I'll be super pumped, because it reminds me of the nostalgia of watching the X-Men cartoon when I was a little girl, and I didn't know that it was X-Men. I didn't know what it was. I just said the people wearing blue and yellow. Like, I didn't know. I was super young, but I don't know. There's just stuff about certain things from your childhood that when you see them, or you hear the theme song or a photo of it, and you can like smell it, like those scented markers, for example, or, you know, you can feel the pain of those like razor-toothed headbands that clip together and go all the way, you know, the stuff like that, you know, the nostalgia of like a simpler, more interesting, more carefree time, right? That's what this would be for me. So fingers crossed that this is the Wolverine in Deadpool 3. Now, also going on the same vein of Deadpool 3, we've got other rumors that are surrounding Deadpool 3 and Wanda Maximoff, played by Elizabeth Olsen. Now, I am actually a little bit jelly, I am not going to lie, because if I was ever going to be a Marvel character, like, she is who I wanted to be, because she is probably my tops. She is just so amazing. Everybody always says, like, Jean Grey, or they go to DC and say Poison Ivy or Starfire for me. But I always wanted to be Wanda Maximoff, because if I could choose powers, it would be to create my own reality. For sure. Like, hands down. And to be the daughter of Magneto, I mean, come on. Come on. But anyways, I am actually very, very happy with the job Elizabeth Olsen has actually done playing and embodying this character in the Vision and bringing her to life. I actually super enjoy that, so I can't hate on it. I just wish it was me. But I digress. The rumors surrounding this is that the part of the potential story arc of Deadpool 3 will be an adaptation of that story, which is rumored to be from Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. So as more information comes out on this, you know, as the writer's strike calms down and everything else, I will bring you more news about that. Moving right along, we have a star from the Vampire Diaries. If you were a fan of the hit show, it ran for many, many years. I know my sister was a huge fan of Vampire Diaries and Ian Somerhalder. Then this update is for you. Vampire Diaries star Paul Wesley, who played Stefan, one of the vampire brothers, was asked about whether or not he would want to be in a Vampire Diaries reboot. And he said, quote, "I would never do another vampire anything, period, let alone Vampire Diaries." And he was saying that he did not mean this in a negative way. It's just that the show ran for such a long time that he actually liked the challenge of keeping Stefan fresh character-wise. You know, he started off as a good guy. At some point, he was the bad guy, the dastardly evil being that he was. And then somehow towards the end, spoiler alert, he ended up the good guy again. And I think that he doesn't want to taint that, I think, is the gist of his point. So I want to hear your thoughts about that. Would you want Stefan, or Paul Wesley Stefan, to return if there was a Vampire Diaries reboot? I want to hear your thoughts. Screen Rant is back on the news this week with us because they revealed, apparently, several story details that were leaked for Loki Season 2, which comes out on Disney Plus in October of this year. And they're doing the, we talked about this on this podcast, they are actually going to do the Netflix format here, where Loki will be one of the first projects to release all its episodes all at one time instead of one a week. Which honestly I like. I hate having to wait week after week after week. I can't stand it. I never did, not even as a kid. But anyway, so here are some of the details that they have found out for you. Kang the Conqueror will have a small role in Loki Season 2. Loki will be fighting to save the TVA. Miss Minutes is missing. That sounds like a real tongue twister there. Ravonna Renslayer has yet to return. Loki is searching for Sylvie. And the new season includes new cast members as well as several returning cast members, and it picks up straight after where season 1 left off. So those are just some of the many tips that you can expect coming from season 2 of Loki, which comes to the platform in October of this year. In a recent interview, let's see here, Henry Cavill was actually, let me see, I got lost here. All right. So apparently in an interview with the Disc Father, Henry Cavill actually let this slip that he was apparently more of a fan of Joss Whedon's cut as opposed to the Snyder cut. And this actually ended up being one of the single worst reviewed DC films with DC fans and critics alike. I want to hear from you. Is this a rare loss from Henry Cavill, or do you agree that you would have preferred Joss Whedon's over the Snyder cut? There has been such a huge controversy with the DCEU before James Gunn took over. You know, you had the Ayers cut, you had the Snyder cut, you had Joss Whedon, you had everybody under the sun doing all these different things with all the same characters but different actors. It was so confusing for the casual viewer who didn't understand the DCEU and what was going on and all these different story arcs and all these different things, right? So is this a rare L from Henry Cavill, who's usually on the winning side of things, or do you agree with him that Joss Whedon's would have been better than the original Snyder cut? I want to hear from you. I keep saying that, but hey. All right, here we go. Speaking of different arcs in the DCEU, Jensen Ackles comes to mind with Batman. And here's why. At a JIB convention, Jensen Ackles was asked about the DCU. And he was asked if he would like to play Spider-Man in James Gunn's DCU. And he said, quote, "I'd love it. Sign me up." I actually think he would make a really good Batman. You know, so many people recently have said they want to play Batman, including Keanu Reeves, who said he wants to play an older, more matured Batman. But as much as I love Keanu Reeves, I actually think Jensen Ackles would be a good Batman. What do you think? What do you think? Moving right along, there's one more thing I want to add about Batman. We've got a good flow going. The director of The Batman, starring Robert Pattinson, the director for that is Matt Reeves. And he was recently on a podcast called Team Deacon's Podcast. And he talked about how him and his partner are writing The Batman 2, which is still going to happen. We have had that confirmed by James Gunn himself. It's not going to be a part of, you know, his vision of the DCU, but it is still going to exist on its own without all the DCEU craziness, okay? So luckily this is happening because I actually did like the Batman. Of course there were some plot holes and so forth and so on, but if you just watch it for the sake of watching, it was actually a very good film. I thought he did very well as Batman. So he says, Matt Reeves, the director, he said when he was discussing the writing of this, he actually said it will be even more ambitious than the first one. So the Batman Part 2 is in the writing stages now. I think that this is a pretty cool promise. I hope that they live up to it. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Next up on the docket is more DC news. It is Blue Beetle. I am actually a huge fan of the Blue Beetle character. I am not going to lie. I was first introduced to the Blue Beetle character while watching DC's Young Justice, which is one of my favorite shows. I absolutely love that show. I really want a new season. I would so love to play Ms. Martian, McGann. I think that would be such a crazy cool role. Uncle John, like oh my god, I want to do that. I want to do that role so bad. Apparently the Blue Beetle director, Angel Manuel Soto, he has these really grand plans for Blue Beetle, and I'm actually pretty excited about this. If all goes according to plan, he is approaching this first film as if it'll be part of a saga, more specifically a trilogy, because that's his hope for this character, to have a nice beginning, middle, and end. Kind of similar to the thought process of Ted Lasso, which was only written to be 3 seasons long. I think they want to do a 3-film series based around Blue Beetle. And I think that there's a lot of depth in this character, in the history of how Blue Beetle comes to be and its predecessor and where it comes from. I think that would be really, really cool. He wants to take the traditional 3-act structure for the story of Blue Beetle, which I think will be pretty exciting if done well. This could definitely be a possibility for them. It'll be a huge win, I hope. Fingers crossed. Now that DC has officially cast their Superman, which we talked about in a previous episode of this podcast, now there are rumors that are suggesting that Bill Skarsgård is the top finalist to play Lex Luthor. Honestly, I didn't anticipate that news. If I was going to be on the casting board, I wouldn't even have thought of him for this role, to be honest. But now I can't get it out of my head. It's kind of living rent-free in my head right now. What do you think? Who would you choose to play Lex Luthor? They originally had somebody else in mind. And so I'm curious, but you know who I really would like to be Lex again as an older gentleman, or maybe Lex Luthor's dad, would be Michael Rosenbaum. You know, when he was in Smallville as Lex, like I don't know, that would be so cool. I've been rewatching that recently, and yeah, it's kind of just, it's also living rent free in my head. There's a lot of space up there. Speaking of more rumors, that's the rumor mill this week, I guess we could say. The Stranger Things star who played Eddie Munson for Stranger Things, Joseph Quinn, he is apparently the top prospect to potentially play the Human Torch for Fantastic Four. I actually can see this so much more than Bill Skarsgård playing Lex Luthor. What are your thoughts? What do you think? Who would you cast if you got to do your own fantasy casting for these roles? I'm very curious to see and find that out, but I like that. I like this for Joseph Quinn. I think he would bring a lot of fire to that role. No pun intended until after I said it, and then I realized what I said.